Hello ladies and kebabs. Welcome to another Wikipedia Clickhole, in your journey to being the neighbourhood Jeopardy master. Last week we went from the angry-looking Caribbean dove to wow, South Sudan, so who knows where we'll end up today, but there's only one way to find out. Today we're actually going to start on something we touched on in the last Clickhole, which is Ambergris, which is something excreted by whales that is used to make perfume. We barely touched on it and didn't actually end up clicking on the Wikipedia page, so I thought that might be an interesting place to start. Welcome to Clickhole Wednesday, a casual hump day hangout that takes less time to edit than my other shit. Ambergris is a solid, waxy, flammable substance of a dull grey or blackish colour produced in the digestive system of sperm whales. Freshly produced ambergris has a marine, fecal odour. Wow, it smells like fish and shit. And somebody discovered it and thought it would work great in perfume. It acquires a sweet, earthy scent as it ages. Oh, commonly likened to the fragrance of rubbing alcohol without the vaporous chemical astringency. I would have never described rubbing alcohol as having an earthy scent. It just smells like fire and brimstone. Ambergris has been highly valued by perfumers as a fixative that allows the scent to endure much longer, although it has been mostly replaced by synthetic ambroxide. Well, so apparently we're not so much rubbing whale vomit on ourselves anymore, that's a plus. I'm glad to know this information. Cool, this guy got a bunch. Wonder what that's worth. I actually do wonder what it's worth, since it's quite rare. Ambergris is formed from a secretion of the bile duct in the intestines of the sperm whale, and can be found floating on the sea or washed up on coastlines. It is sometimes found in the abdomens of dead sperm whales. Because the beaks of giant squids have been discovered within lumps of ambergris, scientists have theorized that the substance is produced by the whale's gastrointestinal tract to ease the passage of hard, sharp objects that it may have eaten. It is speculated that an ambergris mass too large to be passed through the intestines is expelled via the mouth, but this remains under debate. Oh, so it's not necessarily whale vomit, it's whale poo. That makes it better. Christopher Kemp, the author of Floating Gold, A Natural and Unnatural History of Ambergris, says that it is only produced by sperm whales, and only by an estimated 1% of them. Can you imagine being his friend or a member of his family while he was in the process of writing this book? I mean, it's clearly a valid and interesting history, but imagine being like, oh god, here goes Chris again on the weird whale shit floating around. Ambergris is rare. Once expelled by a whale, it often floats for years before making landfall. The slim chances of finding ambergris and the legal ambiguity involved led perfume makers away from ambergris and led chemists on a quest to find viable alternatives. Ambergris is found in lumps of various shapes and sizes, diversity and inclusion. When initially expelled by or removed from the whale, the fatty precursor of ambergris is soft and with a strong fecal smell. But after months in the sea, it generally hardens, it gets a crusty and waxy texture, and apparently the shit smell fades away, and then it just smells weirdly sweet, earthy, marine, and animalic. So it's mostly been used for creating perfume and fragrance, but it also has historically been used in food and drink. King Charles II of England's favourite dish was a serving of eggs and ambergris. It's also used as a flavouring agent in Turkish coffee and hot chocolate in 18th century Europe, and some people consider it an aphrodisiac. Nothing like hardened whale shit to get you in the mood. Ancient Egyptians burned it as incense, and in modern Egypt, ambergris is used for scenting cigarettes. Nothing like putting whale shit in your lungs. I mean, that's the dream right there. Okay, the legality. Why is it illegal? Okay, so it's a whaling ban. I thought the whole point was to wait for it to wash up, because it takes a year to get rid of the crappy smell and to harden it. They talk about killing the goose that laid the golden egg. But urine, feces, and ambergris that has been naturally excreted by a sperm whale are not considered to be protected under this convention. Well, that makes sense, it's floating around. So there you go, that's ambergris for you. But the only thing that annoys me is we still don't know who decided taking washed up whale shit would be great in perfume. So we have no idea who came up with that or why. You know what, let's check out the giant squid. It can grow to a tremendous size, offering an example of deep-sea gigantism. Recent estimates put the average size of the species at 10 meters or 33 feet for males, and 12 meters, 39 feet for females. The number of different giant squid species has been debated, but recent genetic research suggests that only one species exists. Yeah, given how huge the ocean is and how much we don't know, I would say there's probably more and we just don't know where they are. The first images of the animal in its natural habitat were taken in 2004 by a Japanese team. It's widespread, occurring in all of the world's oceans. I actually didn't know that you could find it everywhere, except it's rare in tropical and polar latitudes, and it spans a large range of depths. Its chief predator is the sperm whale. Oh, that's right, because they find beaks in the ambergris sometimes. So each tentacle is actually a tentacular club. That sounds like something I want to join. There's the beak of a giant squid. Hope you're not having lunch. Oh yeah, there it is. This looks pornographic, to be honest. Oh, interesting that they maintain neutral buoyancy in seawater, because they have an ammonium chloride solution which is found throughout their bodies, and it's lighter than seawater, so they float. This differs from the method of flotation used by most fish, which involves a gas-filled swim bladder. That's cute, they have their own internal balloon. That's funny. This next sentence is great. The solution tastes somewhat like salty licorice and makes giant squid unattractive for general human consumption. Humans will try to eat literally anything they come across. I guess that's why kids are always putting crap in their mouths. I suppose we're like dogs in that regard. We always make fun of dogs for putting things in their mouths where we're like, why would you do that? But we've put the ammonium chloride solution of giant squid in our mouths and gone, yeah, I don't recommend to my friends. The age of giant squid can be determined by growth rings in the statist's statolith, similar to determining the age of a tree. That's really curious. What is a statolith? It's some kind of structure. I mean, it's an organ. Oh, so apparently it's a myth that they reach like over 60 feet because none of these have been actually scientifically documented, and a giant squid expert, what a job to have, said that such lengths were likely achieved by greatly stretching the two tentacles like elastic bands. The reality is already cool enough. We don't need to be stretching out squids to make life exciting. Little is known about the reproductive cycle of giant squid, and yet that's probably the longest section on this Wikipedia page. Yeah, we seem to know what parts they have, but not how they work. There's a job for somebody. Figure that one out. Ooh, here's a giant squid in a block of ice. Let's have a look at that. Ooh! God, that would give you the creeps if you were just out in the wild and came across that. It was only really recently that we were able to photograph it alive. Most elusive image in natural history. The first image of a live mature giant squid was taken in January 2002 on Goshiki Beach in Kyoto. It was captured and died overnight. Oh, now it's still on display in the National Science Museum of Japan. There it is. The specimen from Goshiki Beach is seen here tied with a rope. Oh, this poor squid looked like it was really suffering. First photographs of a live giant squid in its natural habitat were taken about 2.5 years later, and the images were created on their third trip to a known sperm whale hunting ground south of Tokyo, where they dropped a 3,000-foot line baited with squid and shrimp, and the line also had a camera and a flash. After over 20 tries that day, a 26-foot giant squid attacked the lure and snagged its tentacle. The camera took over 500 photos before the squid managed to break free after 4 hours. Here's one of the images that was taken. Yeah, I mean, stuff of nightmares. Alright, let's go see if there's anything on the colossal squid. It is believed to be the largest squid species in terms of mass. The species is confirmed to reach a mass of at least over 1,000 pounds, making it the largest known invertebrate. I mean, sperm whale is having a big lunch all the time. They are the barbecue pitmasters of the deep sea. So it's a shorter squid, but it's fat. Actually, you know what this looks like? It looks like the bulb of some of the sea kelp. Oh, there's the beak. Funky. It looks almost like a piece of art. The colossal squid, along with the giant squid, has eyes that are nearly 2 to 3 times the diameter of their deep sea counterparts. And their eyes glow in the dark. Fuck that. I am out, man. No way. What? They glow in the dark? Imagine you're down in the deep sea and you just see a giant eyeball glowing in the dark. That is too much, man. Let's learn more about the Kraken. Why not? We make memes and jokes about it, but I would like to know some more. Okay, the Kraken is a legendary sea monster of gigantic size and cephalopod-like appearance in Scandinavian folklore. According to the Norse sagas, the Kraken dwells off the coasts of Norway and Greenland and terrorizes nearby sailors. The English word Kraken is taken from the modern Scandinavian languages, originating from the Old Norse word kraki. It is a word designating an unhealthy animal or something twisted. Kraken is also an Old Norwegian word for octopus and an older euphemism in Swedish for whales. Euphemism? Oh, used when the original word became taboo as it was believed it could summon the creatures. Whale who should not be named. Well, I suppose I didn't learn much new here. I thought there would be some exciting fact that was surprising, but there wasn't. So let's see what is recommended for us. Globster. A globster or blob? Yeah, we're going to globster. Okay, globster or blob is an unidentified organic mass that washes up on the shoreline of an ocean or other body of water. A globster is distinguished from a normal beached carcass by being hard to identify, at least by initial untrained observers, and by creative controversy as to its identity. Who came up with the term globster? Oh, well, we're on the Wikipedia page, let's find out. The term globster was coined by Ivan T. Sanderson in 1962 to describe the Tasmanian carcass of 1960, which was said to have no visible eyes, no defined head, and no apparent bone structure. Other sources simply use the term blob. Well, Ivan was creative, so we give him points for that. Many globsters have initially been described as giant octopuses, though they later turned out to be decayed carcasses of whales or large sharks. As with the Chilean blob of 2003. I just find that really funny. Can you imagine a film or a news piece about the Chilean blob of 2003? It just sounds funny. Many masses of whale blubber released from decaying whale corpses. The Newfoundland blob. There are so many famous blobs. Oh, I love it. The following is a chronological list of carcasses that have been described as globsters or blobs in literature. Stronsay beast from 1808. St. Augustine monster was a whale carcass. Trunko. Weird. Look at Bermuda blob 2. Why not 1? Oh, because there were 2 globsters that washed ashore on Bermuda. Remains of whales. Wow. See also exploding whale. Oh yeah, because when whales decay, there's a buildup of gas in their organs, and so they tend to explode. Sometimes we explode them ahead of time when they wash up on beaches people frequent, so people don't go and take pictures of the whale, and then the whale suddenly explodes and everybody's covered in, you know, rotten whale bits. So they do sometimes pre-explode the exploding whale. Let's check out Trunko. It sounds like a movie. Trunko is the nickname for a globster reportedly sighted in Margate, South Africa in 1924, according to an article entitled "Fish Like a Polar Bear." Those were the days. The animal was reputedly first seen off the coast battling 2 killer whales, which fought the unusual creature for 3 hours. It used its tail to attack the whales and reportedly lifted itself out of the water by about 20 feet. One of the witnesses described the animal as looking like a giant polar bear. No scientist ever investigated the carcass while it was beached, even though it was there for 10 days, so no reliable description has been published. Elephantine trunk. Oh, this is getting fanciful now. Well, I'm upset. That was way less exciting than I thought. Here's the list of blobs and globsters. Again, I kind of want to check out the Chilean blob because that made me laugh so much, but it doesn't seem that mysterious. I suppose none of these are mysterious. Ultimately, it's just a rotten whale. Hell, let's go to the Chilean blob. Oh my, that is a blob. Large mass of tissue that weighed 14 tons? That weighed 14 tons? How dense is it? Okay, it made headlines because biologists were initially unable to identify it. And so they speculated that it was the remains of some species of giant octopus. But a year later, DNA in the blob matched a sperm whale. So it was literally a large mass of adipose tissue, which is fat, and the partial remains of a sperm whale. Let's check out the OG Tasmanian globster. This is such a retro-looking news clipping, I love it. The Tasmanian globster was a large identified carcass that washed ashore 2 miles north of Interview River. Interview River, what is the name origin of Interview River? We're just supposed to move past Interview River. Did the first job interview occur there? What is that? Anyway, in Western Tasmania in 1960, it weighed between 5 to 10 tons. It lacked eyes, and in place of a mouth had soft, tusk-like protuberances. It had a spine, 6 soft, fleshy arms, and stiff white bristles covering its body. It was a whale. Somehow, the whale had 6 soft arms. So we're not going to get an explanation over how that ends up being a whale. No? Okay, we're not. Nice. Okay, our man Ivan T. Sanderson, let's learn about him. Okay, so Ivan was a British biologist and writer born in Edinburgh, Scotland, who became a naturalised citizen of the US. He was a founding figure of cryptozoology, a pseudoscience and subculture. Only 'cause it's not mainstream. Hey, you know what else was probably a pseudoscience and a subculture? Stuff that we accept today, like gravity and the world being round, but, you know. What do I know? I'm a fan of cryptids. I think they're fun. Sanderson authored material on paranormal subjects and wrote fiction under the pen name Terence Roberts. I did say our friend Ivan had a wild imagination, so that fits right in to our picture of Ivan. Okay, he was born in Scotland and travelled wildly in his youth. His father manufactured whiskey professionally. Oh my god, and he was killed by a rhinoceros. Why was a guy who professionally manufactured whiskey killed by a rhinoceros while filming a documentary? Sanderson attended Eton College at 17 years old and began a year-long trip around the world, spending most of his time in Asia. He graduated from Cambridge University with a BA in zoology, a degree traditionally upgraded to MA in botany and ethnology after 6 years without further study. I beg your pardon? You can just get a degree and it upgrades over time. Without the grind. I didn't know that. Is that still a thing? What an investment. He became famous claiming to have seen an olitiao after being attacked by a creature he described as the granddaddy of all bats. He also worked for British naval intelligence during World War II, in charge of counter-espionage against Germans in the Caribbean, and then for the British Security Coordination, finally finishing out the war as a press agent in New York City. So, hang on, let me get this right. The guy who is a founding figure of cryptozoology, which is accused of being a pseudoscience and subculture, was good enough for British naval intelligence and World War II counter-espionage. Not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I am tickled by the idea that this guy knew some shit. He collected animals for museums and scientific institutions, and included detailed studies of their behaviours and environments. He began appearing on American radio and television in the 40s, and he, in 1951, appeared on the world's first regularly scheduled colour TV series, The World Is Yours. Wait, so was the first regularly scheduled colour TV series basically a Planet Earth prequel? That's interesting. His television appearances with animals led to what he termed his animal business. He initially borrowed or rented animals from zoos, but then he met somebody who eventually became his assistant and ultimately partner, who suggested that instead of renting them, they should buy them and gain additional income from displaying them in his zoo. So Sanderson purchased a big farmhouse and 25 acres of land, which he refurbished and moved 200 of his rarest animals into. Then in the spring of 1954, he established Ivan Sanderson's Jungle Zoo, and in parentheses, and lab. And then he deployed winter travelling exhibits for sports shows and department stores. Nothing like doing your Christmas shopping and finding some exotic animal on display. Oh my god, but there was a fire in his barn in 1955 and it destroyed 45 rare animals. And then the zoo got flooded out by the Delaware River during floods caused by Hurricane Diane in 1955 as well. 1955 was not our friend Ivan's year, I think. So he coined the word in the early 1940s cryptozoology. He wrote a book called Abominable Snowmen, which argued that there are 4 living types of abominable snowmen scattered over 5 continents. His credibility was damaged with his endorsement of the giant penguin hoax. He proclaimed that giant 3-toed footprints found in Florida were impossible to fake and were made by a 15-foot-tall penguin. You think you'd see a 15-foot-tall penguin on the beach in Florida. You'd think somebody would spot that one. But no, alas, it was a prankster who made a pair of cast iron feet that he attached to high-top sneakers and went for a stroll. That's hysterical. He's also been described as credulous for suggesting that aircraft and boats went missing at Devil's Sea because of a wrinkle in space-time. He introduced the concept of the vile vortex, which is supposed to be an anomalic region where disproportionately many strange phenomena occur, like the Bermuda Triangle and Devil's Sea. There are too many good things to click on from this point. Let's go to list of cryptids. This is a list of cryptids, which are animals presumed by followers of the cryptozoology pseudoscientific subculture to exist on the basis of anecdotal or other evidence considered insufficient by mainstream science. While biologists regularly identify new species following established scientific methodology, cryptozoologists focus on entities mentioned in the folklore record and rumour. The chupacabra full-on looks like an alien. I mean, that's an alien. Apparently we also have an enormous spider here in the US, that's weird. The Mongolian death worm. And they put a picture of a snake. It's probably a snake, not a worm. But we may have to click on that because I found it entertaining. A yowie. That's a yeti with a good record collection. See also fearsome critters. That's a fearsome... What is this? This is like a duckfish mammoth. That's a really weird image. There are some cryptids missing from this list, I have to say. But let's check out the Mongolian death worm. The Mongolian death worm, or large intestine worm, is a creature alleged to exist in the Gobi Desert. Actually, good point. What if it is just an intestine somebody found? The creature first came to Western attention as a result of Roy Chapman Andrews' 1926 book, On the Trail of Ancient Man. He was not convinced by the tales of the monster that he heard at a gathering of Mongolian officials. None of them had ever seen the creature, but they all firmly believed in its existence and described it minutely. In 1983, a specimen of Tartar sand boa was shown to locals who claimed to have seen Olgoi Kokoi, and they confirmed that this was the animal. Oh, so it did end up being a snake. Why did they think it was a death worm? It seems like somebody came in contact with this thing, didn't know what a snake was, described it horribly, and then everybody who did know what a snake was didn't quite make the connection. Vermiphobia, fear of worms, especially parasitic worms. Ooh, you know the picture's gonna be nasty. Let's click on it. Oh, they didn't put them, damn it. See also Mongolian death worm. Oh, maybe it was somebody who had a phobia. Category, zoophobias. Let's see what else you can have a phobia of. Ailurophobia is the persistent excessive fear of cats. Myrmecophobia, inexplicable fear of ants. Oh my god, I'm so glad I'm not one of these people. The fear of shellfish. Why? Birds? Yeah, fear of birds. How do you live with that one? They're flying around all the time. Rational fear of birds. It may also refer to a strong dislike of birds. Well, that puts it mildly. People with a fear of birds. Ingmar Bergman had a fear of birds. A member of One Direction also has a fear of birds, apparently. And the former percussionist of Slipknot also has a fear of birds. You're in a metal band and you're afraid of birds? That's a classic. Couldn't make that one up. Wait, let's see if they list. Let's find some other weird phobias and see who has them. Fear of books. No way. Fear of mirrors. Chemicals. Happiness. Oh, well, then you can pretty much guarantee you're always miserable, so does that make you happy? And then in turn, are you afraid of being satisfied that you're afraid of... That's a weird one, man. Dentists. Trees. How do you even live? There's even aversion to female genitals. Very strange. Fear of adult women in particular. Fear of balloons. No, that's terrible. Fear of tornadoes and or hurricanes. I mean, isn't that everybody really? I think everybody goes, oh shit, you know, definitely don't want one of those around. Have we really found a person for each of these? The fear of the number 4. Why? How do you count your own limbs if you're afraid of the number 4? Fear of ugliness. Oh, how mighty are you to fear ugliness. Who has fear of ugliness? Oh my, that is a very ugly painting. I'm gonna blow this up. Nice and big for everybody to enjoy. This masterful piece of artwork. What is this? An old woman. I don't know that that's any old woman I've ever seen. Painted by Quentin Matsis. That's an old woman. That's what you think an old woman looks like. Are you joking? That looks like the Nosferatu, the Vampire Bloodlines, The Masquerade. The first one, not the one coming out, but the original. That's what that looks like. Apparently I clicked on unattractiveness. I thought I clicked on a phobia, but it's taken me to just general ugliness. Abraham Lincoln was described by Contemporary, quote, "To say that he is ugly is nothing. To add that his figure is grotesque is to convey no adequate impression." Burn! Abraham Lincoln wasn't that ugly. I mean, he was rugged looking. I wouldn't necessarily term him physically unpleasant to look at. I mean, he's not a hottie or anything, but however, his looks proved to be an asset. His law partner wrote he was not a pretty man by any means, nor was he an ugly one. He was a homely man, careless of his looks, plain looking and plain acting. His apparent gloom impressed his friends and created sympathy for him, one means of his great success. Also, Jean-Paul Sartre had a lazy eye and a bloated, asymmetrical face, attributed many of his philosophical ideas to his lifelong struggle to come to terms with his self-described ugliness. Really? Yeah, I guess he's got a little Mr. Bean thing going on. But again, I mean, just looks like a relatively normal, average person. Discrimination or prejudice against unattractive people is sometimes referred to as lookism or cacophobia, and if it is a result of one's disfigurement, ableism. Teratophobia is an aversion or fear of people who appear monstrous, have blemishes, or are disfigured. Within the dating world or courtship, judging others purely based on their outward appearance is acknowledged as an attitude that does transpire, yet is often viewed as an approach that is superficial and shallow. Some research indicates a sentencing disparity, where unattractive people tend to get heavier prison sentences than attractive people. Well, I think we've always all known that it helps to be hot. It will always get you further. That is a sad truth. We are but beasts who look upon one another and pass judgment. I'm sorry, we need to look at this painting one more time, because this is beyond anything I've ever witnessed. This is not an old woman. It's just not. I am blown away by this painting. You know what? We're gonna end this clickhole right here on this gorgeous creature, which I think is a really appropriate end to a clickhole that crossed lines with cryptids. Because this looks like a cryptid. Maybe I'm the one being judgmental now, but my god, that is not like any human I've ever seen. So we managed to finish this clickhole on unattractiveness, but we started it with Ambergris, where we failed to find out who the heck thought whale vomit or whale poo was a really good idea for putting in perfume. After that we went down an absolute clickhole of massive squids, to weird blobs that have washed up ashore, to the founder of cryptozoology, and then on to phobias, where we learned some people have some phobias I did not expect, and ultimately onto this glorious painting that I honestly am really glad I found. If you enjoyed falling down this clickhole, please leave a like, leave a comment with your favourite cryptid. Do feel free to make a suggestion for next week's clickhole, and wishing you much attractiveness. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!